Commissioner Kiker comes in, I'll just leave them. Let's call the meeting to order, the Tourist Development Council meeting for the 8th of May. Let's please stand and have a pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And a roll call, please.
Commissioner Larry Kiker, Forrest Banks, Kevin Duane,
Here.
Fran Myers,
Here.
Tony Lackey,
Here.
Renee Fordick,
Here.
Colleen DePasquale,
Here.
Robert Wells,
Here.
Joe Regallo, Jeff Webb,
Here.
Pamela Cronin is excused.
Thank you. And do I hear a motion to approve the meeting of the April
So
the
moved.
minutes of the April 10th meeting? Any objections? Passed. All right. Public to be heard. Do we have anybody from the public who wants to get behind the mic and give us some information? No one from the public? Oh. No one from the public? All right.
Wow. That's an unusual day.
Keep going, Renee.
Municipalities to be heard.
I think
Good
I was
morning.
supposed to be here in June. I am Carl McAloose. I'm the Director of Athletics at Edison College, former athletic director at Florida Gulf Coast University. And I'm here to just give a little short presentation on what we're going to bring to the area. And hopefully that's appropriate at this time. So may I get some participation from the crowd? How many Gator fans here? 2 hands, that's good. Florida State. Florida Gulf Coast Eagles. Good. All right, I asked that question 12 years ago, and nobody in the room put their hand up when I said Florida Gulf Coast Eagles. Right now, if I said, are you Buccaneer fans, how many would put their hands up? Roger, good for you. Good. All right. 12 years from now, when I come back here, I want everybody in the room to say, I'm a Buccaneers fan. We are the Edison Buccaneers. We're starting sports back up in the fall of 2015 with baseball and softball. In the fall of 2016, we'll have men's and women's basketball and volleyball with the additional sports to come on board. What we're looking for certainly is support within the community. I believe that we're going to be able to bring a lot of people to the community with not just the teams that come in, but their fans also. We're also building some unbelievable facilities on campus, as many of you have probably heard, building a $20 million arena on campus right next to the Barbara B. Mann. We'll hold about 3,500 people for events, not just basketball or volleyball, but concerts, speaking engagements, different things like that. So just want to let you know, the one thing we want to do certainly is get people involved. I was commissioner of a conference before, and one day I walked in a gym and I saw a full gym. It was Bruce Pearl, who's now the coach at, where's Bruce? He was the coach at Tennessee. Just took the Auburn job. Bruce and another coach who's now a Division I coach, and they were scalping tickets outside for $150. It was a Division II game. Walked inside and asked the athletic director, I said, hey, Yogi, I need a seat. Being the big-time commissioner, I expected the best seat. Well, there are no seats. He said, just go find a seat. So I walked up. There's an empty seat there, and there's a lady sitting there. And I said, anybody sitting in that seat right there? And she goes, no. You're welcome to sit there. So I did. And I said, why is this seat empty? And she said, well, it's my husband's seat. He passed away. So I, take my foot out of my mouth, and I said, well, I'm surprised you weren't able to find somebody to take the seat. And she said, well, they're all at the funeral. Come on, somebody's got to laugh at that. That's the kind of excitement we're looking for. That's what we want to sell the place out. Everybody asked me the question, why are you building FGCU so big? Why are you building the Alico Arena so big at the time? And I said, someday we're going to fill it. And that happened. And then the same thing's going to happen at Edison. We're going to bring Junior College National Championships there, and it's going to be our community college that's going to do it. Our junior college is going to do it. So I just want to let everybody know we're going to be bringing a lot of people to town, putting a lot of people in the beds and at the restaurants and different things like that. So I look forward to working with everybody in the room. the hotels, the restaurants, everybody involved, and I think we're going to have a great economic impact to the area. So thank you. I know that was supposed to be in June. I came a little early, I guess. So, thank you.
Thank you much.
Excellent news.
Any other municipalities to be heard? By the way, I guess Commissioner Kiker isn't coming, so I've moved chairs. No other municipalities. Amazing. Judy, nothing, huh?
She's too tired. She's been too busy.
All right, well, I guess you're on, Tamara.
Okay, happy to be on. Let's go with the bed tax report first. I feel like it's old hash every month, been coming to you with these double-digit increases, but for March, when I got the report from the clerk of courts and I saw we took in $7 million, I was like, oh my gosh, that was a heck of a March. 12.3% increase, preliminary over preliminary, and about 15.7 increase year to date. Just phenomenal numbers. We're now 6 months through the year, so that is very, very, very good news for this community. And when you hear Marcia's report, we'll see a little bit of that here in a minute. But when you hear her report, they're not just spending more money in the hotels, they're spending more money in our community, so that is really great news. In terms of the STAR report, you will see occupancy, ADR, RevPAR, room revenue all up. A small decline in available rooms on the STAR report, and about a 2.7, or is that 2.2? Sorry, 2.2 increase in rooms sold, but very positive numbers there as well. Those of you in the hotel business know there's not a lot of room to move that occupancy number in March, so you'll see a smaller number there, but I do, congratulations. I've been chastising you for not moving the ADR number, so I'm going to congratulate you this month for moving the ADR number. Good to see a higher ADR number than an occupancy number, so that is a very good sign for the community, of course. So congratulations there. In terms of airport traffic, the number was also up there. They had a 2.8% increase in passengers in the month of March. As you'll remember, there's still some weather issues and some challenges in the month of March, so to see an increase there, given the weather challenges that the country faced, very, very good news. So congratulations to them as well. Quick look at the key indicators. Inquiries for the month up 35%, leads up 63%, and partner referrals up 48% for the month. For the year, our inquiries are down, but our leads and partner referrals are both up. So keeping track of that, paying close attention to that information, but we're pleased for the month of March for sure. Quick look at the KPI summaries. We talked about bed tax, our target, and we only do this once a quarter, of course. We were pretty, maybe I was just way too conservative in our estimate. We thought it was going to be much harder to move the needle this year, given the fact that the last 2 years had been up. We're significantly above that, 2.5% in bed tax, 15.75. In-state visitation is down a little bit. We had a target of an increase, and we haven't seen the in-state visitation. Of course, we're not to the time of year where we typically see the in-state visitation. I expect we will move that needle significantly in the summertime. Out-of-state visitation, significantly increased. We were shooting for 1%, and so far we're at nearly 12%. International visitation down a little bit. We do have a goal of an increase there. Again, that's a summer and fall time frame. You'll see those numbers move then. Length of stay is down a little bit. Length of stay is up. It's interesting. It says it's down, but it's actually up. So we'll see what happens there. We had a target of 4.8, and we're coming in at 5.3. And then our visitor recall is actually exceeding our expectations. We wanted to have an increase in visitor recall, and we have achieved that goal. So great news there in terms of the effectiveness of the advertising. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Marcia to give us the first quarter report, which I think you'll be pleased with.
Good morning, Marcia Wood with Davidson Peterson Associates. As Tam mentioned, the results for this quarter are really looking very good. They mirror a lot of what she just showed with the STAR report and the bed tax collections, and hopefully what you've experienced as well in the community. So just going through the winter season highlights, we saw an increase of 6.2% in visitation, which is great for a time when it is harder to move the needle because winter is your peak season. For expenditures, in total expenditures, we saw a 3.6% increase, which means that, as Tam mentioned, they're not just spending more on lodging. We did see a 5.8% increase in lodging, but they're spending more in general, which is great to see. We are noticing that our available room nights and occupied room nights were down for the quarter, but the fact that occupied room nights were down less, at a lower rate of change than available room nights means that our occupancy rate actually was up year over year. And, similar to what the STAR report showed, we are predicting that there was a 9.1% increase in the ADR. So that was really quite remarkable year over year. And when I get later on into the presentation where I show the 5-year trends, you'll see just how remarkable that is. So both the increases in the occupancy rate and the ADR drove a revenue per available room increase of 12.1%. So that's also very good news. Looking at our 5-year trends in visitation, we see, kind of this straight increase, a stepwise increase on our paid accommodations visitation. Back in 2010, we were at 629,000 visitors for the winter, and now we're up to 777,000. So that 5-year change is a 23.7% increase. And it's not just looking at 2010 versus 2014. As I mentioned, even just each year, we're seeing a little bit more increase. Similarly, we do see an increase in our total visitation. That tends to be a little bit more muted because we see some fluctuations with those who are staying with friends and relatives. In terms of the visitor expenditures, again, we're seeing that upward trend, even a steeper curve from 2010 to 2014 on the paid accommodations visitor spending. And then for total visitor spending, we had the highest total visitor spending for the winter season in 2014, higher than we've seen in the prior years. So that's to be congratulated. Paid accommodations visitation, visitor origin, we're seeing a rebound in our domestic visitation. The past couple years, we had seen slightly lower percentages of those who were coming from the domestic markets. So as Tam mentioned when she was showing the indicators, it looks like, we're a little down on international, but we do tend to see that come up in the summer months, and summer and fall. So I wouldn't be concerned about that at this point. Canada continues to be the leading market that you're pulling visitors from in the winter season. And coming from Maine myself, I can attest to why you would want to be down here during that time of year. So looking at the domestic visitors, we continue to see the majority of them coming from the Midwest. Minneapolis had a very strong showing at 10% of your visitors. And then New York, Indianapolis, Chicago, and Boston all kind of, in the same range as far as their contribution to visitors. Looking at our 5-year trends on the lodging industry summary, we have, again, that increase from 2010 to 2014 in our occupied room nights. We did have a little bit of a drop-off in 2014, but again, if you look at it versus the shape of the the line for available room nights has continued to kind of decline each year, so that drop off in 2014 isn't really a concern. We see the increase in occupancy rate going from 2010. We're up more than 10 points on average occupancy rate, and again, just a little bit of increases each year.
That's Tamara's favorite chart, by the way.
Well, yeah.
Well, one of them.
Right.
One of them. I like that one, and there's another one I
Yeah.
like. The ADR one.
And, I won't spend a lot of time on this. You do have it. It gives you the detail of how it breaks out by category. But again, we are seeing those increases, across the categories. So this is the one that is really impressive, as I mentioned before.
This one is so good.
We're looking at a $25 increase from 2010. And if we went back even to 2009, I think it was about $135 on the ADR. So, this is really quite remarkable, and such a big jump from winter season last year to this year. So we had seen, kind of a little bit of a steady increase, and then, wow, 2014 really took off. So I don't know whether you just felt like the people up in the north were so desperate that they'd come no matter what the price was, but it worked.
Marcia, you don't have the 2007 ADR data, do you?
I don't have it. I don't have it in my
I was
packet,
just
but
curious,
I can
'cause
easily get
that
that.
was before the crash, and I
Right.
was wondering if that ADR was way up there, and then
I
of course,
think
we bottomed out at 9 and 10.
Right. I think that I did go back and look at it. I don't remember the exact number. I don't think we're quite to 2007. I want to say it was around 170, but I can look that up for sure and get that back.
Thank you.
We have talked about it many times. We're still in recovery mode.
Right.
Still absorbing all that extra inventory. We're just finally almost there.
Right.
The good news is we're finally almost there.
Mm-hmm. And again, I mean, winter season, particularly if we go back to the occupancy rate, that's a really hard needle to move because it's such a high percentage anyway. So, to be at 86% for the industry, for your industry, Lee County as an industry is really, that's very strong. And I believe that that's stronger than we've seen even since 2007 for the winter season. Again, just the trends by category. So, when we look at the combination of both that increase in occupancy rate, the increase in average daily rate, we're up about, $40 in revenue per available room since 2010. And fortunately, things are still looking positive in terms of the property manager's outlook for the coming season. So for the second calendar quarter, we have 56% who say that their business or their reservations are up over the same period last year, and then another 35% who say that they're about the same. So, either up or the same. We've got 9 and 10, which is higher than last year. Fairly on par with where we were in 2012, but then looking even further back at 2010 and 2011 when, the outlook really was not at all favorable. You had a lot of people who were feeling like, it could even be worse than it was the prior year. So, and the good thing is that when we've been seeing these numbers on the projections each quarter, I feel like what we're then seeing on the flip side is when we get the actual results, it's coming to fruition that we are seeing, it's kind of translating to the projections are mirroring what we actually see once we get the results. Any questions?
I got one.
Okay.
When we talked about the movement from 2013 to 2014 in the ADR where it was 151, in terms of other areas like the Keys, Tam, do you have any info on how their movement was?
Yeah, well, and we talked a little bit about the Keys with their property being off, but if you look at page 9, I think, in your packet, you will see the STAR report that has the comparative counties.
Looking for, thank you.
So Monroe County had about a, let's see, they had a 9.6%, a 9.1% increase in ADR to our 8.5% increase in ADR. Now, of course, that number is a bigger number. They're starting from a higher point. ADR there was $329. I mean, significant versus ours 203. But you'll see the direction is very similar. You mentioned that they had a property that was offline in Key West.
Oh, yeah, there's
So as you can guess, take some inventory out. That helps with the rate at the ones that remain, of course.
Rob?
For those of you that know STAR much better than I do, when you see this average daily rate, is it adjusted by the size? Is it per room, or is it for instance, how do you compare a cottage, which might be more common in one of these counties, to a hotel room? If there's 2 or 3 rooms in the cottage, is it broken out then, divided by 3?
Well, again, see, this is the trick of, and this is why, a lot of people say, well, why do you have DPA and get the STAR report? STAR report tends to be flagged properties reporting. They have relationships with STAR. They pull the data right from their reservation system, whereas you may or may not have a relationship with STAR and provide information to them at a smaller property. DPA is gathering as much information from as many of you that will participate. They have a better idea of hotel versus cottage, or condo unit versus hotel unit, and that's why we have both of these reports. I know sometimes it's confusing, but at the end of the day, I think we get a more complete picture on our destination when we look at Marcia's report, because we're getting more types of units reporting. Now, the average is kind of meaningless at the end of the day, but when you look at those breakouts by type, you get a much better feel, Rob. So I think if I was looking at or at a cottage, I probably would compare that more to what I see in the condo vacation home,
Right.
in terms of price, than I would a hotel room or resort.
So the larger properties are going to dominate because they've got more rooms or units, and so they're going to dominate in that average daily rate. So the small 3 cottage property, even if they're at a really high rate or a really low rate, are going to have less effect on that overall average.
Right.
But one unit is one unit.
Right.
Per key. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I guess that's what I'm saying. If you have a county that has a hotel, it's a flag hotel, that it might be more of a suite type hotel that's reporting, then the thought process would be, well, of course that would probably be more expensive per room night than one that's got a just regular hotel room with 1 bed or 2 beds.
The way this report is done, and STAR will do different ways of doing it. The way this is done, it's averaging the whole county for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's averaging a Hampton versus Twin Arms versus Hyatt. So they're Hyatt and Twin Arms are going to get more money per room night than Hampton. It's the average. If you were to take your individual properties data, which if you wanted to sign up, they would find your comp set or competitive set, and you'd be able to find out how you rank with your competitors. For example, Tony and Joe are not in my comp set. I'm more with people around me. So it gives you a better average of how you're doing. I don't know. I agree with Pam. I don't know if many condos that are in this kind of thing. So this is much more of a hotel flag and non-flag type of hotel process. So.
Yeah, when I look at the STAR report numbers compared to what we are estimating, I tend to look at our estimates for the hotel motel category and see, how how they align. But for the condos and vacation homes, I kind of consider that to be a separate entity, which is, why we do break it out by category as well, so that you can see just what the difference is. And clearly, with the RV parks and campgrounds, those are much lower as well.
Correct. And
Right.
and by the way, not every hotel reports to DPA
Right.
either.
Right.
So, and that's a huge, you've heard me say this, and I'll continue to bang the hammer. The more of you that participate, the better the information is. When fewer of you participate, the less reliable that information is. They have to estimate based on previous years or the information they gathered. I mean, I don't want to say, this is not against you, Marcia, but garbage in, garbage out, right?
Yeah.
If the better information we get from you, the more reporting elements we get from you, the better the report that Marcia provides to us is. And that's one of the reasons you get my naggy emails before they begin data collection, because we want as many of you to report as possible. One of the things that Marcia and I talked about, I was a little concerned to see the drop in units. I think that's a twofold thing. One, are those condo units all reporting? Because the bigger drop seems to be in the condo units. And the second one is, I think there's a whole lot of people that might have rented theirs out the last few years. The economy's recovering. Their economic situation is better. And they decided, we're not going to rent out our unit this year. We're going to enjoy it. It was a cold winter. We're going to come down and stay and enjoy our unit. We're not going to rent it out. So I think there's a couple of things combined that impacted that. But that's what I mean. It's a lot of nuances when you look at this data. Sorry.
A couple of little comments too, segueing away from the STAR a little bit. I'm very concerned with the guest experience, and so I track a couple statistics very closely. This was a very interesting year in that people were calling up and not really asking what's your rate. They were asking, do you have a room? So we've really been able to charge a lot more. There's two very critical statistics that I look at within our brand that we are able to track, and that is intent to recommend, which is more important really than loyalty.
Right.
And the other one is value for price paid. Now, I don't know if individually people can track that or not, or if they have a system like we do, but I've noticed that our value for price paid dropped a bit because people, of course,
You're paying more. Yeah.
And of course, but their intent to recommend increased a bit. So I was curious if anybody else, in talking with their guests or anything, had any revelations about now that we've charged all these higher rates. And I mean, we've got some big rates that we charge. Did you have similar issues? Were you able to keep that value for price paid up, or did it drop? Because that's something that will come to fruition next year when people go, well, geez, do we want it? I was curious if anybody had any.
Jeff, in my particular case, I was surprised because we raised our rates like everyone else did. And we have a comment card that we ask guests to fill out. And one of the questions I had is, why did you select us as opposed to any other hotel on Sanibel? Because most of us are about the same. We're all on the water, et cetera, et cetera. Surprisingly, an awful lot of people put down rate as a positive thing. And I thought, well, maybe I can raise them some more. I said, raise them some more. They said, yeah, rate. So they didn't find this increased rate obnoxious to them. So we still have wiggle room.
We had some of our guests when we bumped and, when they rebook and they said, gee, you've gone up a little bit. And we said, well, we looked at the STAR report and we had room to move it. But no, we just feel we want to be able to pay our employees a better wage if possible, and still return our profits and things to our shareholders. So I think that, most of the guests get that. I mean, as long as you're providing service, if you're raising rates and you're not providing a service, you're going to hear about it, I'm sure, for that.
We do have.
Well, we have such different properties. I mean, we always are battling that with a property on an island that you have to bring everything in by boat. The idea that most people don't understand how expensive that is, and that everything that you consume has to be brought back off the island, so that, ironically, garbage costs us more to remove than the new stuff. So we're always kind of mindful of that, because I see that a lot, where people will like it, but at times wonder why certain things about it were so expensive. At the other property, that's the same reason why I'm careful about where we are with ADR, because I think I could charge more, but at the same time, I at times wonder, hey, this is what we have. And so yeah, I'm pushing it about as far as I think I can with that type of facility or that type of room during, weekends in peak season at this point. But everything also for hotels, I think, is going up in price. Insurance is up. I mean, all of our costs our labor costs are higher. So at some point, I think, as the average continues to go up, it'll help me make a case for going up as well. But yeah, I think the majority of them have, but I do see where you're coming from, and I agree that there's some that have come along and, yeah, been concerned about it, yeah.
Right.
Renee, I would just say that in the camping industry, we're almost the highest in the state right now. We're up with Disney, and we're higher than Key West, and we're full.
You're good.
We're good. And they want to come back, and it's like they say.
Just to add to that, in the DPA survey that we do of the visitors, and remember we're surveying 300 visitors a month at various locations throughout the county. You'll see in the report, and I'm sorry, it's way into your packet, the full report, but on page 117, you will see we asked them their likelihood to recommend Lee County, meaning recommend this area as a vacation destination. 89% of them said they would recommend Lee County, and 89% of them said they would return. Now, it may not be Lee County. I think we actually asked them, the area, right? Mm-hmm. Would you recommend
right.
this area?
But it's also asking them if they recommend this area over other areas in Florida. So it's specific to,
right. Yes.
This geography.
Looking at those numbers as these rates keep going up, because the key, getting the guests the best service. Steve's done a great job with, her guests first seminars and so forth to get that service going. We just want to make sure that that's always that value's there and that intent for recommend.
And then, just to add, we also asked them their satisfaction, and you'll see on 112 in your packet, not in the packet, it's actually on page 21 in the report, but 113, I guess, in your packet is we asked them the quality of the accommodations. How would you describe the quality of your accommodations? This is one of my concerns about product. We've had this conversation more offline than online, but trying to keep track. Did they exceed your expectations? Did they meet your expectations, or did they not meet your expectations? So we were very much trying to assess their level of satisfaction, their intent to return as well when we talk to the visitors. So just so you know, we're tracking that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I can add
We could
charts
add that
in
to
there. I mean, I think that as far as the quality of the accommodations question, we would love to see the exceeds expectation number higher. Sometimes it's a little lower, sometimes it's a little higher, but it hovers in the same range. So, if we could move the needle on that, I think that would be an excellent marker. And we do look at that among, just to be clear, we do look at that among people who have stayed in paid accommodations. And I can also do a data cut to see how we did it in the annual report, look at how that differs between first-time visitors and repeat visitors, because you would think that with repeat visitors, they already know what they're going to get, particularly if they're coming back to the same property. So you might not see as much movement with them. And we have such a high proportion of repeat visitors that they're going to dominate in those numbers. So,
Exactly.
But that's something I can certainly add for the next quarter.
Rob, you had a observation, comment, question?
Yeah, I think Mark's pretty much answered. I was agreeing that met your expectations and exceed your expectations. I mean, met your expectations, we should consider just to be average.
Right.
And so as those numbers rise, it would be interesting to see as that ADR rises, if in your point, Jeff, if that far exceed, tends to tick down a couple percentage points and the met your expectations, because I would imagine if you're paying more, you expect more, and
Right.
therefore that would be reflected in there.
And I think that also may be more variable depending on the season too, because if you're, again, kind of coming back to your comment, as long as the weather cooperates, if you're here and you're getting what you want to get out of the experience, you're coming from a cold place and you want warmth and sun, then it's going to permeate through all of your ratings and feelings about the experience. I think during some of the other seasons, there's more opportunity for visitors to be put off because they have more options during other times of the year. They don't have to come to Florida to get warm weather or beaches. They can go to many different places. So I think that's something to consider as well.
Marcia, in the larger packet, there's a couple of things I noticed that were down. One was site visits, and the other was industry referrals. Address that, or should somebody else be addressing that?
No, site visits to the website.
Yeah.
Marcia's not tracking the marketing. I guess that's me because Laura is still out with her knee.
I don't know. It was in the big
Correct.
packet. I saw that.
Correct. Again, I think a lot of it has to do with how we spend our SEO, search engine optimization, and we've spent a little bit less on this time of year, quite frankly, because it has been performing so well overall, and have allocated more money to our summer spend because we want to make sure that you have a good summer and a good fall. So that drives how many visits go to the site based on our search engine optimization. So we just sort of reallocated resources. I think if you look at it overall, when we have the whole year of data, you're going to see it's probably pretty consistent to the previous year. I also think there's a lot of different ways for them to get information now. Our website isn't necessarily the only one, but I think that what you're really seeing there is how we've allocated our marketing budget. But I promise you, we're keeping an eye on it for sure. Absolutely. Rob.
Any other observations, questions? Rob.
I have a question off of the topics we've discussed so far, but if you look at this Lee County Travel Market publication, it's a two-part question. The international feeder markets, where do you get those numbers from people actually getting off of airplanes, or are those in a survey that you took at a certain spot?
They're from the aggregated data from all of the surveys that we take in a given quarter. So it is, somewhat dependent on where we're going. We do a fair number of interviews at the airport. We also are spread throughout the county as well, though. So, but it does come from the visitor profile survey.
Are we able to compare that number with the actual people that we know are getting off the planes from those destinations? Or is that difficult to track, considering they might be going to other markets?
I mean, maybe Brian, not to put you on the spot, Brian, but you guys track or markets of origin for people flying into the area. They have a system. If you think we have a 2-month delay, how far is that behind the actual? Your data runs a little bit behind. Yeah, 6 months behind, but the airport does track that. But keep in mind, that's resident travel, visitor travel, there's a lot of different components.
My next question on that would be that if Canada is off the charts up in this report, what things have we done? Have we improved? Lift, obviously it was freezing up there. They all wanted to be down here, but they're still, even if all those people wanted to be here and there was only a certain amount of capacity, then it's almost as if capacity was increased as well as maybe some sort of marketing efforts in Canada.
Well, two things. Always remember it's a year-over-year comparison, and for whatever reason, we were down in 2012. So that affects that number as well. That's why I like trends rather than looking at one year. It really is better to look at the trends. But I will say, we have a contractor in Canada. We added that about 3 years ago. You're seeing that needle move there. I think it makes an enormous difference. And of course, our Canadian visitors don't just fly down, but we do have additional capacity. We added a flight from Ottawa. Am I making this up? I feel like Ottawa is a new flight. and bigger planes. So there is additional capacity that we're seeing out of Canada. Plus, as you know, a lot of them this time of year drive down to our area or in the winter season. They're still, I mean, I can't imagine making that drive. But a lot of people still do drive down from Canada because they're escaping and they want to come down for extended period. So I think, Rob, it's a combination of things. One, you know, the real estate market was very attractive. A lot of Canadians wanted to come down and look at the real estate market the last few years. We've seen a lot of increase in housing purchases from the Canadian market. The exchange rate has been very favorable. Historically, the dollar was significantly higher than the loonie. Now the loonie is higher than the dollar, so they have a very favorable exchange rate. We've seen Canada be a very good performer for us and have absolutely been emphasizing Canada in our efforts there. So I think it's a combination. Sure.
Marcia, your information is always useful and it's always interesting, and every now and then I see something in there that's humorous.
Oh,
In
okay.
in your big packet, on page 38, you had your winter expenditures by visitors. And you had it broken down, you know, the total was about $1 billion for Lee County. And then, of course, the room sales and the food and beverage. And then there was $180 million in other. So I was curious, so I looked down at how your other was broken out. And on the top line of this bar chart, this very top line went way over to the right, past everything else. So obviously I was curious. And I looked to see what it was. $180 million in the wintertime our visitors spent on liquor purchases. Liquor purchases. No wonder Total Wine is doing well. So if anybody has a gift shop in your hotel that's a profit loser, you might think of changing it into a liquor store. Liquor purchases, $180 million. My God.
For those of you that want to look at that in your packet, it's 129, but
Yes, and it's part of it is the scaling issue on that bar jutting way out, but it is different. Yes.
Thank you, Marcia.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for all the questions.
okay. Any other questions relative to the data or the things we've presented? I do have one other announcement. Sorry, Jeff, just before you go, sorry. We have 2 new interns that have joined our team, and I want to share a little bit of information about them. Maya Mathis and Winter Rose. Maybe they'll stand up so you can see them. Winter and Maya. Oh, she's standing up. I can't see her. I'm sorry. Maybe you could step out. So let me tell you a little bit about them. Maya will be working in the visitor service area, and Winter will work with the Marcom department. The visitor services internship includes assisting with a variety of initiatives, such as the VCB's award-winning Guest First customer service training program, the volunteer tourism ambassadors at the airport, and many tourism-related events and education presentations. They both helped us at the travel rally on Tuesday, so they had that experience. They've now done a VCB event. Maya is pursuing a degree in resort and hospitality management from FGCU. Winter will be working with the Marcom team, as I said, and she will be working on the marketing campaigns and promotions, development and coordination of visits by travel trade professionals, data and reporting compilation, media relations, and planning events. She is a marketing major at FGCU. So 2 FGCU interns that we're really happy to have part of our team. They are bright, shiny, and new. They just started. So welcome to the team, ladies. Now it's your turn, Jeff. Sorry.
Good morning, Council. Jeff Melke with the Sports Development Office. Be going over our first quarter report of the calendar year. So in your packet, you've got January 2014's report. January and February, pretty much business as usual. Same types of events. You'll see a lot of repeat customers coming in those months. January was a room night total of 6,300 room nights with a direct visitor spending of $2.1 million. In February, it was a 3,300 room nights with a direct spending of $1.2 million. You go to March, obviously, with Tam just speaking about March and the fantastic season that we've had. March is starting to put some pressure on our sports events. Over the last 4 years, You've seen the Gene Cusick Classic start to regain its traction in the state after in 2007 and 8 it almost disappeared because it became rate sensitive. These are all college teams who are trying to justify $200 hotel rooms on a limited service property. So you'll see the Gene Cusick Classic with 6,800 room nights, but I have a feeling that you'll start probably seeing that number go back down again because of the rate pressures that are on those teams. Two events, though, that we did bring in, which were somewhat surprising. The U.S. Powerlifting Florida Championships was at Bay Oaks on the beach and was very successful. And then USA Gymnastics came, and gymnastics parents are not concerned about hotel rate at all. And that was at Harborside. It was a very successful event. Andrea Frazier knows about gymnastics parents. And they're coming back next year in March, so we found a nice event that is not rate sensitive that can continue to use our downtown area and fill some hotel rooms that might not be being filled with spring training and things like that. So our first quarter annual report is 18,377 total room nights. That's down 1,700 from last year, which was the best first quarter we'd ever had. And mostly that's because of the way that Florida Youth Soccer moves its Region C qualifiers all over our area. We're competing against Lakewood Ranch now up in Sarasota. Collier County has gotten very aggressive about hosting these soccer tournaments. So we have to share the wealth, if you will, for these Region C Cup qualifiers and state cups. So just depending on which events we get awarded really depends on how many room nights our first quarter gets, and that 1,700 represents everything in Florida Youth Soccer that went elsewhere this year. We do have a crazy summer coming up at us. I mentioned yesterday in the county manager staff meeting that April and May are historic for us as far as the sheer number of events that we've hosted. In April, we hosted 24 sports events, and this May we're scheduled to have 22. So in a 2-month period, we're going to host over 45 sports events. And to put that in perspective, when we started this in 2011, we were only hosting 30 events a year. And we're putting 45 events in 2 months. And it really is putting some pressures on the resources, not only Parks and Recreation staff, facilities, but everything. And it's a great problem for us to have. And so I look forward to at the next quarter update, you're going to see some great numbers come through for April, May, and June. The last thing I'll mention is Wednesday starts the Florida High School State Baseball Finals, which we hosted last year for the first time. This will be our second year of a 3-year contract. And we are happy to say that we do have 3 local teams that are still in the mix. Bishop Verot will play Friday night to determine whether they make it in. Canterbury, for the first time in their history, if they win their next game, will be in the 3A finals. And Cape Coral will compete, I think, Tuesday night to be in the 5A semifinals. So there's a possibility that we could have 3 local teams in the high school state championship. So we look forward to that.
Sure. Thank you. It's becoming apparent to everyone that amateur sports is becoming, sports tourism is becoming very important to our local economy, and there's a lot of growth that's expected for a while yet. Jeff, will you talk for just a moment, please, about our current facilities condition, resources that we have versus some of our competition?
Sure.
And what that means to us?
Yeah, and there will come a time, Roger is doing a very exhaustive strategic planning function with the entire county, and we're talking about where we're going to go over the next 5 to 10 years and what we want our community to look like. And one of those certainly has been about not only dealing with the citizen growth in our community, but how to keep generating wealth in our community, whether it's through economic development or tourism. And so what we've started to do is take a look at where are the pressures that are affecting what we might look like in 5 years and 10 years. And I'll tell you, Sarasota, Bradenton area is coming out fast and furious. They just opened Benderson Lake, which is going to host the World Rowing Championships in 2017. It's going to have 10,000 rowers coming from all over the world. I mentioned Lakewood Ranch, which is right across the Sarasota border, and in Bradenton, it's a 24-field soccer complex. They relocated U.S. Master Swimming's national headquarters to the YMCA Aquatic Center, and they're hosting YMCA events, Master Swimming events left and right. I've told you all before about how successful Polk County's sports tourism efforts have been. They really sink almost a large percentage of their bed tax dollars into sports tourism facilities because they're not, that's their primary market, being between Tampa and Orlando. So, they continue to build sports infrastructure at an alarming rate for us, and they are one of the direct reasons why the Gene Cusick Classic went from 300 teams a year back in its heyday to now we're lucky, we're scraping to get 50 teams a year because of all the facilities they've built. IMG Academy, which is a private facility in Bradenton, just got a $2.5 million award from the state. There's rumors that they're going to build a 24-field baseball complex. That is alarming to us. Palm Beach County is looking to build another 2-team complex and relocate 2 spring training teams down there to join the Cardinals and Marlins, which already have a 2-team complex. So that would be a 24-field 2-team complex, or 2 complexes at 12 fields each. So we have to decide what we want to be and where we're going to get our resources from to continue to grow our business, or we have to decide from our policymakers whether, we continue to maintain status quo. So.
Thank you, Jeff. So the rest of the story is over the next 6 months or so, we'll be presenting all of this information to the county commission so that they can begin to make some policy decisions that will affect spending those kinds of dollars over the next 10, 15, and 20 years. And when Jeff refers to this really broad process that we're going through to evaluate what we think we should be looking like over the next in the long term. These are really, really important decisions, and I suspect that after we finish some sort of a study that will help us understand where we might be going with amateur athletic tourism, that we're going to be talking about spending very significant dollars to increase our assets. Thank you, Jeff.
May I ask a question? I don't know whether it would be Roger or Jeff, but what happened at the commission meeting Tuesday? I saw something on TV, the allocation of the more money for the Twins. Was that money that was already there, or?
Yeah, we're doing the upgrades to the sports complex where the Twins have their spring training. The project, phase 2 of the project, which is the last phase, the estimates came in higher than, the bids came in higher than estimates initially by $4 million. We spent the better part of a month getting that number back down to something reasonable. So on Tuesday, the board agreed that we would take dollars within the existing budget but allocated for another purpose and apply them to some additional costs. There is no additional money to the project. It's all within the dollars programmed originally.
Just to remind the board, when we looked at the analyzation of the Twins, there was a sinking fund established. I believe that's where the money came from. There was about a $5.5 million sinking fund for many different type of variances, and the county commission, rightfully so, took the money out of there.
Are we getting close to have that stadium paid off? Okay.
Just 30 more years, Fran.
Okay.
The original.
I thought that, yeah.
The original it will be retired, but the whole package has been reallocated.
Okay.
That was the short answer, no.
Yeah, that's, sometimes shorter is better, right?
Any other questions?
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
All right. Today we have Ron Riley here from R.J. Riley and Company, American Dream Seekers, and he's going to give us a little update on what they do.
Well, first of all,
Good
thank
morning.
you, Council, for having me here this morning, and it's great to see so many familiar faces. I got to start with technology here, so.
Oh.
Place a call. You want to call anybody?
Give us 1 second. Hopefully we'll get it back going. So, it's presentation.
I love technology.
There we go.
Okay. I'm here today to tell you a lot about a signature event that we're bringing to the community called American Dream Seekers. And many of you know me. I represent R.J. Riley and Company, but over the years, I've done a lot of other things. And one of those was executive director of the City of Palms basketball tournament. And I also represented the Calusa Catch and Release tournaments for 20 some odd years. To date, I've produced about 75 or 80 events in the community, and last count, we probably generated somewhere in the neighborhood of about 25 to 30,000 hotel rooms over the long frame of time that I've done this type of work. We've also done a lot in the community as well. We've provided over $720,000 that have gone to over 45 organizations in Lee County, largely student-based, largely education-based. FGCU has been our single largest recipient in the neighborhood of about $460,000 or so. These are just some of the logos that I have. I've actually created, I think, a total of 42 separate events. Many times we either create a new one or we take over an event and try to improve it and enhance it. And so today, we're here to talk about American Dream Seekers. What it is, it's a competition that provides a multi-level platform for entrepreneurs to showcase their talents, their business concepts, ideas, and creations, all in Southwest Florida. I've researched this for about 2 years or so. I was enamored with Shark Tank when it first came out on ABC about 5 years or so. It's one of the most popular shows in the country. And these types of platforms are popping up everywhere. They're largely in bigger cities. They happen on a lot of college and university campuses. And we're going to bring this concept and this event to Fort Myers. Teams of successful, highly talented business leaders will judge and provide business advice to these individuals. There'll be an audience of potential investors that'll be present at Harborside Event Center. I should have said that. There'll be exhibitor and vendor booths for businesses to showcase their products and their services to the general public. It's going to be held Saturday, October the 25th, 2014, and we're taking over the entire Harborside Event Center. Applicants will negotiate over a 3 qualifying round period. The actual rounds open on February the 22nd. The first opening round will continue through August, and then there's a series of other rounds that will follow. Once they pass through all those rounds, assuming that they are fortunate enough to do that, there'll be 50 applicants that will compete in a semifinal round during the day on October 24th, 2014. And those entrepreneurs will have the opportunity to win, that pass through to the final round, will have the opportunity to win a cash prize of $5,000. And those 5 presenting teams, the finalists, will be presenting to 5 investor judges that have the ability and the capability to help provide funding and equity financing for those individuals. Just like on Shark Tank, there's no guarantee that that will happen, whether it's in their wheelhouse or not. But the best advantage is that this is being marketed throughout the state of Florida. We've gotten submissions already from 14 different states, and our expectation is this is going to grow significantly well. By comparison, one of the models that I've looked at, if this thing it's as sustainable as I believe and can grow on a long-term basis as much as I expect, there's an event in Jacksonville called One Spark. And One Spark wasn't embraced by the community when they first began this, but in April of 2014, they changed it to a 3-day event where vendors would be on display over a 26-city block downtown. All the presenters were at a variety of restaurants and bars, so it was almost like a business crawl versus a pub crawl, if you will. They had 615 presenters, a 3-day package with bands and all kinds of entertainment, and they produced over 500,000 people that attended that. And they expect it to increase by the following year as well. We're bringing people in from all over the state as well, and some from out of the state. We have business product and service vendors. For example, an MC, his name is Joseph Warren. He's an entrepreneur, a public speaker, a keynote motivational person and an author. We have a president of Co-Creative. He's also the president of Co-Creative, the president of Ideasphere, which is Chuck Papagiorgio. He's an author, life coach, and entrepreneur, and also Corey Crowder, who many of you may know. He's also a life coach, and he's also a former NBA player. We'll have about 5 or 6 keynote speakers that day. Our semifinal judges, the preliminary rounds during that day, are comprised of 15 different people that come from a variety of backgrounds, largely from Fort Myers. The mayor of Fort Myers, Randy Henderson, will be one of our preliminary judges. The president and CEO of Integra Energy in Tampa, Mike Schuyler. Corey Crowder again, former Lee County Commissioner Ray Judah, former tennis and golf professional Russ Crutchfield, and a variety of other people that are still being signed up. There'll be a live audience. Basically, the doors will open at 11 o'clock, and throughout the day, those presentations will be being made. We'll have lots of speeches being generated on a variety of business topics. And then that evening, prior to the actual show beginning, the preliminary judges will deliberate and determine those 5 finalists. They'll be live on stage, and the bottom line is these people will have an opportunity to compete for significant funds. The impact to Fort Myers and Lee County. First of all, it's another way to spotlight this community nationally, and everybody knows that I market this community pretty well. It's also an opportunity for us to become known for entrepreneurship. We need to become an incubator for these kind of businesses. There's a platform that offers opportunity. And just like we see the development opportunities from the sports side, for example, this is no different today. It's a hot topic, it's a hot product, and it's only growing. Judges and speakers from outside of Lee County, these are people with economic impact, with major influence, and they're coming to Fort Myers. The keynote speakers will also be available that day to help provide knowledge and counsel to all the people that will be there as presenters. Entrepreneurs, of course, will come from, in this case, I think many states that will be represented. They're going to come from all over the country. And there'll be participation and collaboration from university professors and college professors, every single one of which has been actually received information about this. We're on every entrepreneurship site in the country that we can identify. We're on entrepreneurship clubs, organizations, and associations. We have a major digital marketing platform that we're going to be kicking off. One of my partners in this on this endeavor is Craig Pizarros Henderson, who is somewhere back there. But I'd also like to introduce Sarah Setzer, who's a part of my company. We will provide a tremendous amount of media marketing to showcase Fort Myers, and bottom line is to showcase this event and give it a chance to succeed. The purpose of me being here today is basically I want the word to be out. I want you to know what this is going to be all about. It's going to be a big deal for this community. It's going to draw a lot of attention to us, and I'd hope for as much help in your spreading the word. We're going to generate hotel beds and heads, so to speak, and we're going to generate a lot of traffic that's going to spend money. 25 or 30,000 rooms that I've contributed to. We never made a big dent in the $180 million liquor sales, but we got relatively close. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. And thanks for the time.
Ron, besides everybody writing down October 25th so they can take that with them, and I know we have Laura's here, but I saw you had economic development as a major factor here. Have you been working with Horizon Council on this at all?
I have. I've actually met with the Economic Development Agency twice, and I just met with Rick Michaels earlier this week, and I'm going to get on the agenda for their June meeting.
Any questions?
Ron, obviously it's going to take some money to put this whole thing together, to speakers and all that. Do you have a budget of some type worked out? Yeah, the budget's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of about $75,000. Candidly, this is the biggest risk that I've ever taken on. We know how expensive it's going to be, and we're not sure yet where the revenues are coming from. We're working very hard to attract sponsors right now, and really getting the word out into the business community. I've spent a lot of time. I met with the VCB and the Chambers of Commerce and et cetera. And I'm really trying to do it from an infrastructure standpoint to get to those people of influence that recognize the potential value of this thing over a long period of time. Not only will this, over time, sell lots of heads and beds and bring a lot of people to Fort Myers and put attention to us in a different light
I think that's really valuable. But more importantly, over time, it can grow even more significantly. And what I'm trying to convince, like the EDO, for example, is that some of these people that are coming from lots of other locations and get an opportunity in Fort Myers might decide that it's a great hub and a place to start and develop their business. So it's a way to attract businesses over the future. So long term, I think it's got just tremendous upside. Any other questions? Thank you very much, everyone.
We wish you the best of luck, Ron. All right. I see no old business on the agenda. That moves the clock along. New business, our second quarter budget report. Does anybody have any observations, questions, comments, concerns about the second quarter budget report? I saw only one, and that was the data processing, which seems to be the same thing every year. We're running about 97% of our annual budget, and explain their CRN email platform and survey licensing.
And, you know, it's a time of year issue. It falls earlier in the year, that renewal, so we have paid that renewal fee, so we are, in essence, expended there. But I anticipate we won't significantly exceed our budget there by the time the year rolls out.
You have 3% for the last 2 quarters.
I move the item, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion to move it.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes. All right. Next item. We have to formalize the beach and shoreline funding. I guess we want Nancy to come up and assist.
Good morning. Thank you. At your April 23rd Beach and Shoreline Workshop, you made funding recommendations for 23 projects, and you should have a list of them in your packet. But before you approve that recommendation, you will need to make a legislative finding on 7 of them. And Andrea indicates that. Dan?
I was just going to suggest maybe, Andrea, would it be appropriate if Nancy read each one of them, and then maybe someone could make a motion on the
For all
total?
7?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first request is from the City of Sanibel for a beach and shoreline erosion survey project, and the TDC must make a legislative finding that surveying the shoreline of Sanibel promotes tourism.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent.
The next request is from the town of Fort Myers Beach for a coastal management plan. The TDC must make a legislative finding that developing an understanding of coastal process controlling shoreline erosion promotes tourism.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent.
The next request is from the town of Fort Myers Beach for bayside and beach access improvements. The TDC must make a legislative finding that amenities such as bike racks, foot showers, drinking fountains, along with proposed signage, promotes tourism.
Moved.
The next.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next request is from the town of Fort Myers Beach for ADA public comfort station. The TDC must make a legislative finding that a comfort station is a beach park facility.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next request is the City of Sanibel's request for ADA Gulf Lookout shade structure. The TDC must make a legislative finding that a shade structure promotes tourism.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
2 to go.
The next request is Cayo Costa State Park for a truck and tram. TDC must make legislative finding that purchase of vehicles with TDC funds promotes tourism.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Last one.
The last project is from the City of Sanibel for beach park habitat protection and education. The TDC must make a legislative finding that visitors-friendly signage is an authorized expenditure of TDC funds.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. All 7 have been approved.
So the next,
happy.
you have one more important task, and you should have the list of funding recommendations for fiscal year 14-15. There's a total of 23 projects and $7,463,000. I'll ask for your approval.
Make a motion,
Motion.
we approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank
So
you.
Our beach and shoreline funding recommendations are approved. Have a little left over from what I see.
No, we spent it all, sir.
I'm looking at,
Sorry,
I'm
but
looking at requested versus the.
We're good at spending it all.
All right.
That's the purpose, right?
Thank you, Nancy.
We have actually one more in the beach and shoreline area.
Two.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Nicole Perino, the Parks and Recreation Director for the City of Bonita Springs. We are requesting a change of scope for the fiscal year currently, the 2013-2014 year. You did approve $200,000 on a capital project for us for this park. It was connecting all of our boardwalks and shell paths, connecting all the way to the bridge at US 41. It has come to light in meeting with our engineers and architects, the different firms that we're working with on this project, or the park in general, that our Army Corps of Engineers and our DEP permits are expiring in January of 2015. So we would actually like to flip-flop two of our phases. A project that we had, we called Phase 4, was for our final fishing pier and boardwalks to connect the fishing pier, of course, to the main drive of the park. We would like to change that to Phase 3, and our request of Phase 3, the extensive boardwalks, now into Phase 4. So it's basically just flip-flopping two of the phases from the original plan of the entire park that was presented to you, I think, in 2007. So that's basically what we're asking. Does anyone have any specific questions?
Second.
Or that works for me too.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I had one question. I assume, Nicole, that you went to the Corps of Engineers and asked for an extension of the...
We did, and it is a little extensive process. So if we can flip-flop and do the phases and have it complete before our permit expires, it just makes it a little bit easier for us.
All right. So,
I have
Fran.
The last time you were here, I think I suggested that that is a very hard park to find.
Correct.
And I haven't seen any additional signage or anything on 41. Maybe I missed it. But
No, you are correct. And last time when I was here, the Bonita Springs sign ordinance does not allow that. So that's why I unfortunately cannot put additional signage on US 41.
Something's wrong with that picture.
Yes. But we do, as a city, follow the same ordinances that we require of all of our businesses, so that's why I haven't put the additional signage.
I mean, that park sets way back off
It
of
does.
41,
You are
and
correct.
you've got all that confusion with the businesses right there, and it's a great park,
Yes, absolutely.
but you can't find it. I mean, no one, well, never mind.
Sounds like this is to be continued, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Any other comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Any
you.
opposed? Passes.
Thank you very much. There are a few items in your packet. As I always give you some tidbits. I'm not going to go through any of them, but there's some good trends and data in there if you are at all interested. Encourage you to peruse those when you have a bit of time. That's all I have, actually.
Okay. TDC member items. Let's start with Joe.
I guess the only thing of note, if you caught in the paper, my resort has moved to the city of Bonita Springs. So when you see your bed tax breakdown, you'll notice that the city's contribution will essentially double the estimation.
Wow.
The good news is I didn't have to hire a moving company to move to Bonita Springs. We're thrilled to be a part of the city.
Forrest?
Nothing?
Nothing, Kevin? Jeff?
Two things. First of all, your Lee County Hotel Association will be having their next monthly get-together on the 22nd of May. It's going to be a little different. It's going to be at 4:30 in the afternoon. It's going to be a cocktail reception, more or less, at the Alliance of the Arts facility. It's on McGregor, of course, if you don't know that. Please check our website out and RSVP. We'd love to have everybody come out. And secondly, and more importantly, I had a great opportunity and time on Wednesday when I took my team to the TDC VCB Rally Day. A fantastic event, super well attended, really charged up my team. We played in all kinds of different events. They even won one of the bed races. So I just want to thank the VCB for putting that fantastic thing on and give a shout out to Judy, who I hear spearheaded it all. If you're back there, great job, fantastic event. It really, really brought the community together, and I couldn't be more thankful. Third year in a row we did it.
Third year.
Super great event, and hopefully next year we'll get even more participation. But it was a lot of participation out there. We had a huge group of people out there.
Just want to add a little bit. You know, this was the third year. We probably won't ever do it on a Tuesday again because the board was meeting, and Commissioner Kiker didn't get a chance to make it because of that. It's tough. We moved TDC to Thursday, and trying to do an event on Wednesday and then have TDC on Thursday is tough on us as a team. You know, we are still a fairly small staff, so we're going to have to figure out the right day to do that, but clearly doing it on a Tuesday made it tough for some folks to get there. With that said, we had great attendance, we had great participation, and I heard a lot of really fabulous comments. The really exciting news is that we're going to partner up with Collier and Charlotte County and do a regional event next year. I'm very hopeful at that. We will host the first one. I think we've set the stage and set the bar for how these events are done. Judy and her team, complete hats off to them. And to add that every staff member from the VCB contributed and made that event happen, but Judy really is the guru on planning those events, the timing, the layout, the flow of the event. She is an expert at that. So the kudos definitely are hers, but everybody worked very hard on staff. But we're real excited to join forces with Collier and Charlotte County, and we will host the first one here again at Lakes Park in 2016. You know, I think that the two most gratifying things that I saw that day were just all the employees with their families and with their kids there and enjoying the day. There's nothing quite like, we all know each other as professional colleagues and we interact on that way. But when you see, a 6'4" guy with his, 3-month-old baby in his arms, and the difference in that person when they're being dad instead of being the tourism employee, it was just really fun to see them with their families and having a good time and there with their children. And then also the young man who won the 2 tickets on JetBlue, he was pretty darn excited, and he was from Pink Shell, and he did a little dance on the stage afterwards. And I think those were the 2 highlights for me: was the people with their families and Floyd's reaction to winning the JetBlue ticket. So again, Jeff, thank you for the kind words, but I mean, it's a labor of love, and really, these people are what make this industry work. I said it there, and I'll say it again. We could have the best marketing in the world, but if they come here and you don't deliver the experience, they will not come back, and we know they come back. So hats off to the people who are out there on the front line and really making this happen. So thank you for the people who participated. Those of you that didn't missed out. The food was good, and it was a really fun time. So thank you.
Thanks for energizing my team. I really appreciate it. Great job.
Fran, what do you have for us?
Well, I just think it bears repeating on the hot list from the airport. March being the highest month that the airport's ever had in 31 history. And you got to realize all the cancellations, was over 300 cancellations in March because of weather. So it just, I think, proves how important Lyft is to this area, and it's culminating in a record-breaking first quarter for RSW. So I think that's really, really noteworthy. Secondly, I would just like to take the opportunity to introduce one of our guests today is Summer Stockton, who was just elected to the Town Council in Fort Myers Beach. Summer, if you would stand up, and she'd like to be an active participant. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Before I move on, I'm thinking of your comment about the signage at that Bonita Springs River Park.
Oh, can we hear you? We couldn't hear
A
you.
little closer.
Sorry.
All right.
Sorry.
Would it be appropriate for the TDC signed off by Chairman Kiker to send a letter to the city of Bonita saying, we've given you a lot of funding for these things. Please make an exception to your rule and allow some signage so people can identify and find this park.
I would love that.
But, all right, we have a motion.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Could you have somebody prepare something?
You
for
will
Chairman?
absolutely prepare
All
something.
right, thank you. All right. Colleen?
Quick reminder, next week is our Chrysalis Awards. We are really looking forward to that. We already have over 250 people registered and signed up. And if you've never been, the other 100 or so are going to sign up on Monday for Thursday, because that's how that works. So we're pretty excited about that. We've got some great award winners. I can't tell you who those are, but when you see some of the video, some of the things that they've been doing in the community and for businesses and their staff, it is outrageous. So we're, I hope you guys plan on attending. If you haven't signed up, you can do that with us or with the BCB. Come join us next Thursday. We're at Harborside, and it's going to be the place to be.
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Tony?
Well, just to remind your calendar, June 4th, I looked at mine, and we have Island Night at the Miracle Stadium there, and I think that's always a great time, not just for Islanders, but for everybody to kind of come together and have foods and hot dogs and all that kind of stuff. So it's a good time, and so try to be there, and hopefully it won't rain.
Tony, do we know when the governor's convention is, or Tam?
Yes, I.
Is that
Oh,
do you have
no,
that?
I don't
No,
know that
yeah.
it's been
August or
set yet, has it?
September, or
September.
because our meeting's canceled? We don't have a meeting in
I think I
July,
got it
right?
here. Let's see. Here it is right here.
You have
I
no
it.
meeting?
In their packet for June. We'll make sure we get it to you in your packet, but I believe
I got the 22nd, like is what I put down, which is a Monday, and probably, I think it's arrives Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, or something like that.
Where is that?
Is that right, Joe?
Boca Raton.
Boca?
Was it Boca
Okay.
Raton this year? Okay.
Oh,
I believe it's, and maybe I have this wrong, typically you arrive on Sunday, correct? So that'd be the 21st,
Yeah.
and then it lasts until Wednesday, the
is that
24th.
September or August?
September.
September.
And
Okay.
we are having no TDC meeting in September as well.
Okay.
Between that and the E Awards, and of course our First Songwriters Festival, we felt like we would take that month off as well, because as you,
In
July and September,
Okay.
correct, no TDC meetings. But we will meet in August,
Okay.
June and August.
Any other comments from TDC members? All right, the meeting is adjourned.